I don't think the enemy wants me to make this video, so I'm going to have to make this video, okay? My name's Tom. You're watching the Watchman River channel. The reason he doesn't want me to make it, and I can tell, is I recorded this video earlier today. And I was reviewing the video and getting ready to upload it. And I realized I erred greatly in something I said about the gospel. It was so bad that I didn't even want to put like a correction over it with words or a font. I didn't want to do that. That's how greatly I erred. I'm like, I have to do it again. I have to record again. Then I made a big mistake of eating lunch instead of just coming right back to the river. So now I want to cough, because whenever I eat, I don't know why, I cough for a while. I want to cough. I'm going to try not to do that to you guys, but I guess it's a very important video for me to get out. So I don't care if the enemy doesn't want me to do it. That's pushing me to do it more. Okay. And if you guys have to hear me cough, forgive me, give me some grace. Okay. Look, I want to review the 22 signs of the coming rapture, because I think it's so important. I think we are in very, very late days. I think we're on the cusp of the rapture of the church. And I think many people don't realize that we're in the end days. They just think this is a bump in the road, everything that's going on in the world. And I think if we paint a picture with these 22 signs or 22 puzzle pieces, when they're put together, it shows a picture of the 7-year tribulation. I think it's about to begin very shortly. So let's review the 22 signs. Number one, probably the most important one, the Jews back in the land of Israel. May 14th, 1948, I always tell you, I really believe that was the day that the prophetic clock started tick-tocking. May 14th, 1948. I think the gun of Bible prophecy went off that day, that we were in the final days. Number two, wars and rumors of wars. Look, when Russia invaded Ukraine, that was a big deal back in February. Since then, Russia has threatened nuclear war like it's nothing. China has threatened nuclear war. North Korea has threatened nuclear war. And Iran says when they get a bomb, they've been saying this for 30 years, when they get a nuclear bomb, they're going to wipe Israel off the face of the map. So we've got countries threatening nukes like we've never had before. We've never seen this. It was such a serious thing to talk about nukes. And now it's just common language. And we're hearing all kinds of rumors of wars. We're hearing about China possibly going into Taiwan. We know that Israel's a boiling pot. It's incredible. Wars and rumors of wars that's an incredible sign. Earthquakes, that's number three. Earthquakes are everywhere. And I'm telling you, their intensity is growing and they're getting deeper ones. And some people say, well, we just have better instruments to measure the earthquakes. They're the same as they ever were. No. The data doesn't say that. You have to find some reliable data. The earthquakes are off the charts. And especially in the last month or two, they're really revving up and they're getting deeper. One yesterday was 416 miles deep. It's like, whoa, drop a marble down there. That's a big fall, but that's a big one. Number four, famine coming, food crisis. The farmers had a very hard time getting food in the ground this year. And there has been a lot. See, I think the globalists had a plan to cause some food shortages, but I think God allowed things to happen to help it along that were out of their control, like droughts and floods. And I really believe that the coming food crisis, we're always eating last year's food, and now they're literally saying next year there's not enough food. There won't be enough food for the world. And it's a worldwide problem. That's the amazing thing. All these signs are worldwide problems. It's not a region, or it's not just the United States. These are worldwide problems. Okay? The next one, number five, fires burning all over the world in record numbers. We had a summer of fires all over the world. And it's amazing to see, because God said he would destroy the world first with water during the time of Noah, and then with fire. And the fires we have seen in this world this past year, are incredible. Number 6, pestilences. I don't even know if I need to talk about this. We all lived through the last 3 years globally. We all lived through it. Now, when you realize they're creating much more powerful strains in labs and testing them, why do they do that? I don't understand why. And then there are doctors who are saying there are pestilences coming down the pike that we have no cure for. They're concerned. It's just the beginning of them. They're not getting better. We're getting worse. Now, number 7, I mentioned this in regard to famine, but is droughts and floods. We seem to be in a time period where there's either way too much rain or there's parched land. It's extreme. It's either total drought or floods like I've never seen before. And you look at the continental United States and they say 80% of it is in a drought condition. That's amazing. What about number 8? The forming of a one world government behind the scenes. When George Bush Sr. was president back in 1990, 91, somewhere around there, he let it slip out, the 3 words, New World Order. The mainstream media was lit. The mainstream media went into overdrive. Like, what do you mean by that? What does that mean? Tell us what that means. He knew exactly what it meant, but it was a big deal. Now, they're planning a one world government. And they're basically, you can find the videos on YouTube where they're, the WEC, they're just talking about the way it's going to be. Like, it's common knowledge that it's coming. They just have to destroy all the economies of the world, and they have to, there's a little bit that has to happen. It could happen in a moment, but it's forming. We're seeing it. It's within sight. When I started studying Bible prophecy 40 years ago, because I'm an old dude, none of what I'm talking about was in play. Nothing. We'd get one little thing, one country rearranged the furniture. We'd be like, I think that's a prophetic sign. I've told you many times, I really believe we get more prophetic things happening in one afternoon every day today than we did in a decade in the 80s and 90s, in an entire decade. It's snowballing. It's incredible. Oh, this one. I got to show you a picture with this one. Number 9, the UFO alien agenda. Oh my goodness, are they talking about, can you believe how much they're talking about UFOs now? I grew up in a country where they would not even, they denied that UFOs existed. They were like, no, Area 51, no, there's nothing to do with UFOs. They denied it. Now, they're openly speaking about it. In fact, a few of the government officials are like, well, we're communicating with some ET extraterrestrials, and they're saying it. And look at this. I shared this week. I'm just going to show you the headline. It's from the Daily Mail, and it says, "Do you speak extraterrestrial? Scientists say Earth needs to prepare for an alien encounter now before it's too late." So they're literally priming us for an alien encounter before it's too late. You know when it's going to be too late? You know when they're going to say, haha, when we get raptured. When millions, whatever the number is, I don't know what the number is, when millions disappear from the earth, and whatever happens that leads up to that, the dead rising in Christ first, the bones bursting through graves, I don't know what any of that's going to look like. But they're going to say it was an alien invasion. And I think that's how they're going to so quickly introduce Antichrist, because he's going to have the solution for all this chaos that has happened. How about number 10, Israel being near war and being threatened continuously. Israel right now is a boiling pot. Everyone knows it. Netanyahu just got reelected. And some people say that's better to further Bible prophecy. Some people say it's worse. I just, either way, I know one thing. There are warring factions within Israel that want Israel to cease being a nation. You know that. And then there's Hezbollah in Lebanon. So Israel's dealing with a lot of people that want to destroy them. And they're saying, like, war is inevitable at some point. Plus, they're dealing with Iran getting that nuke very soon. They have to address it. Because Iran's not kidding when they say, we'll wipe you off the face of the map. So they have to do something. And I believe it's the Psalm 83 war. Now, will we be raptured right before that war happens? Maybe. Maybe right during the war? Maybe right after the bombs start? I don't know. I don't think we'll be here for it. And if we are, I think it'll be very short before we're raptured out of here. But that's a major sign. Do you see these signs that are all happening now? All happening. What about number 11? The forming of a one world religion. Chrislam, they call it. One world religion was predicted, and we're seeing religious leaders, I call them the everything but Jesus religious leaders. They are forming a one world religion, and it'll be paired with a one world government. And we're seeing it being formed. This never happened before. We didn't see this 20 years ago. This isn't normal life, okay? You got to look at all these points collectively that I'm giving you. How about this? Number 12. Why is Israel building a high-speed railroad and terminal that will take people from the airport to where they want the third temple to be built? And this airport, this railroad and terminal will be done by March or April of 2023. Why are they doing that? Doesn't that make you wonder? I think behind the scenes, they have a plan to build the third temple. Major prophetic sign. Many people for decades have said, there's no third temple's ever going to be built. That's symbolism. That happened in the past. No, it's going to happen. It's another sign of our 22 signs. How about number 13? The technology for the mark of the beast. That was never there. When I was young, back in 1980, 81, we'd talk about this, and we were like, how can it, maybe it's a tattoo. When we first had the guns that would scan groceries, we're like, aha, that's what it is. They'll put a mark on us, and that gun will scan it like we're a product, and then we'll know how much is in our bank. And then, as we all know, as technology went on, we learned about chips that could be planted in the skin. So I don't know if it's in the skin. I think some translations say in the hand or in the forehead. Others say on the hand, on the forehead. But whether it's a chip or it's a tattoo, which they just came out with technology where they could put banking information in a tattoo and health information in a tattoo, whatever it is, I don't know what it is. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know one thing. All the technology is there for it, all of it. Isn't that incredible? Another sign. How about number 14? A final great apostasy as prophesied. People in churches just falling away from gospel truth. Churches where pastors are more concerned about getting people through those doors and into the seats and donating than they are talking about the cross or the blood or sin. And those, sad to say, are the pastors that are going to face Jesus on Judgment Day and hear, away from me, I never knew you. But we brought people, we spoke about you in your name. We changed people. No, you didn't do nothing. Get away from me. That's Tom speaking, not Jesus. Jesus is way more of a gentleman. He said, away from me, I never knew you. It's happening. People are so, the problem is, I think like 90% of Christians, Bible-believing Christians, don't read the Bible. It's a huge problem for Christianity. It's a huge problem. It's food. We never miss a meal. But we'll go days and days without reading God's Word. It's food for us. How about number 15? Internet, live feeds, satellites, streaming, these things. In order to fulfill Revelation 11, where it says that the two witnesses come and every eye sees them dead in the streets. We always wondered when I was young, how can every eye see these guys laying in the streets dead? Like how? And when cable TV started, we're like, okay, we can watch CNN and they'll, but it didn't feel right until these things were around, because I'm telling you, I have watched specials about African villages of these poor people that are it's so sad. They're so poor. They can't eat enough food. They live in rundown little tiny shacks. They have nothing, but they all have phones. I don't get it. I don't understand it, but it's true. And I don't know if it's true with every village, but I know I've seen specials where they have phones. So this technology is here, and every eye on planet Earth will be able to watch those witnesses lying in the streets. And that wasn't there 10, 20, 30 years ago. Add that to another sign. We're painting a picture here. The next one, number 16. This world is unsustainable, and the world economies are tumbling. We're watching economy after economy tumble. Our economy here in the United States, which has been faked for many years. You know, we're so bankrupt. But we're teeter-tottering. We are on the edge. I can't believe people still put money in the stock market. I can't believe it. And I hope your faith isn't in that, because, man, there's no more buy low, buy low, sell high. Now it's like buy low, still go broke. You know, it's incredible. Bitcoin diving. This economy is becoming crippled, and this is without, like, all the prices are rising. I kept saying wait till after the election, and you're going to see, like, prices are going to go through the roof on everything. It's not sustainable. And once all the economies crash, we have the great rescuer, the Antichrist, is going to come in. He's going to solve everything. What about number 17, as predicted in Ezekiel 36:11, Isaiah 41:18 through 20, and Isaiah 27:6, about how prosperous Israel would become. They were a desolation for 2,000 years. There was nothing going on there. It was just a desert. And it was predicted that there would be fruit, and they would export fruits to the world. And there's these lush green fields and forests, and it's amazing. It's miraculous. They're just so blessed, as it said they would be. And it's a fulfillment of prophecy. It's amazing to see what has happened to that desert in the last 74 years. Can we talk about lawlessness? Number 18, lawlessness. I've never seen a time like this. I've never seen where protests around the world just start out protesting and get so violent, so ugly, and nobody's getting arrested. Nobody, it's so amazing to see. I live in a little suburban town in Connecticut, and they now have laws here where if somebody calls the police in the middle of the night and they say, I see this white car with 4 kids in it, and they're checking people's front doors, they're checking car doors to see if they're unlocked, they're trying to rob us, can you please come help? Well, if the police come and they see those 4 boys in the car driving 3 miles an hour through a neighborhood they shouldn't be in at 2 a.m., the police can't stop them and question them. They're not allowed to. They have to see them trying to break in. So the kids know this. So now the kids just give the finger to the police as they go by and laugh at them. The police can't do anything. But that, like, you got to see, like, that kind of mentality it's lawlessness. It gives powers to people that want to do nefarious things. And lawlessness was predicted, and we're seeing it all over the world. All over the world. Number 19. This is a big one. We are at the very end of the 6th day of the millennial week. So, God's into numbers. And the number of 7 is the number of perfection, completion. It's the number of God. And God created the world in 7 days. If you remember, he rested on the 7th day. Well, look where we're at. We're at, like, if Sunday is the 7th day, let's just say, we're in Saturday night, late night. Because Adam to Abraham was 2,000 years. Abraham to Jesus was 2,000 years. Jesus to today is 2,000 years. So we're at the end of 6,000 years. Well, the 7,000th year, or the 7th day, the Sabbath, the rest period, is when Jesus is going to be on the throne in Israel, ruling the nations. And it will be a sabbatical, beautiful 1,000 years. That happens after we're raptured, and after the terrible 7 years that come after that. Then we enter that age. So we're right there. When you look at mathematically, we're right there. We're at the end of the 6,000 years. Number 20. This one, let's talk about this one. everyone thought I was nuts. And I thought I was, well, no, everyone didn't think I was nuts. I thought I was nuts. I was afraid when I first talked about this 2 months ago. I had been talking to my wife and my brother about how everything was different this year. The sun was different. It was warmer. Even on cool days, it felt penetrating and hot. It shone through the trees differently than I had ever seen it in my life. All the sunsets were all magnificent and different than I had ever seen. The clouds were puffier, more detailed, closer looking to the earth. Everything felt different. And I thought, I'm gonna throw that out there in a video. And when I did, I was embarrassed. I'm like, people are gonna think I'm nuts. People are gonna think I'm nuts. Well, what happened was hundreds of comments came in saying, you see it too. I've been telling my family that. I can't believe you saw that. I can't believe you saw that. And more people, they actually took a 2-minute snippet of that. Some group on Facebook, they're not even a Christian group, but they study the skies. And they said, look, this religious loony guy, he sees it too. And it went viral on Facebook. It's like everyone is, there's something different. There's something different with the way the sun was burning our grass this year. And when I mentioned that, I had landscapers saying, I've done this for 40 years. I've been a landscaper. I don't care how much we can water all day and the grass is burning. And we had it in our yard. Like anywhere the sun never hit throughout the day was the greenest grass I had ever seen. And then anywhere the sun would hit for any extended period of time was just burned to a crisp. And it wasn't like a very droughty summer. It was interesting. But many people commented that they had seen the same thing and been saying the same thing. Also the moon, the blood moon the other night. Did you guys see that? I've been watching blood moons for years. I always love to go out and find it. If I can't see it from the house, I'll grab the car. I don't care what time it is. The other night, it was 5 a.m. and it was still dark, and I grabbed the car because I couldn't see the blood moon that happened, and took a drive. My wife and I are looking for it, and all of a sudden she just went, whoa. And I said, and then I kind of turned the car and I was like, whoa. And it was because the moon was ginormous and it was spherical, like 3D. And it had it wasn't the normal blood moon color. It was darker. Honestly, it looked like God's judgment. I've never, ever seen something so powerful. That blood moon was so different than all the others I had seen. Now, some people in the comments said, I saw it and it just looked like a normal blood moon. Then other people are like, no, you're right. It was, it was very large. It was an incredible moon. But another sign. There's so many signs. We're painting this picture. Let's go to sign number 21. And this one's an interesting one because I almost didn't include this but everyone talks about this. So I'm going to include it with a little disclaimer that, well, let me just say what it is. The Euphrates drying up. Everyone's talking about this. In Revelation 16, verse 12, it says, then the 6th angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up, so that the way of the kings from the east might be prepared. Okay? That hasn't happened yet. Some people are trying to say that's happened. That hasn't happened yet. So I added this because I think it is interesting that the Euphrates is drying up. But the Euphrates doesn't dry up till after the rapture. And it's when this 6th angel, poured out his bowl. And then it dries up completely. So it's a different thing, but it's an interesting sign with all the other ones that are going on to show you the direction where we are at this point. Number 22. This one, the barrage of evil that has struck this world is shocking to me. The things that people are doing in this world and the things that people celebrate in this world are shocking. And the things they try to get away with. And I think if with all of us Christians who have the Holy Spirit dwelling in us, if it's like that with us here, what happens when we're pulled out of this world? Can you imagine? When we're raptured, the flood of evil. I just look at the evil that's happened and how it's been increasing and how they call good what is evil and they call evil what is good. And it's exactly what they said it would be. And it's just this there's just a wickedness that is surfaced that I've never seen in my almost 60 years. It's incredible. So I look at those are the 22 signs. And I look at these signs and I think of them as puzzle pieces, and they click into place a picture of the 7-year tribulation. And I really think we're holding the final piece, which is the rapture, because that will cause the chaos that will get all of this completely in motion, where they can present their Antichrist and start those 7 years. I think the rapture, I think once that's clicked into place, it's total chaos. And I think we're very, very close. I think we're very, very close. It'll be so interesting to see how this goes down. But I think the most important thing is to know that, look, it's a pre-tribulation rapture. It's not a mid-trib, and it's not a post-trib. And I know people will argue with me. That's okay. It's okay. But it's the 70th week of Daniel, and it's a time of God to deal with the Jewish people. It's not a time for Christians, and that's why we weren't here for the first 69 weeks of Daniel. We're not going to be here for the 70th week of Daniel. We're not mentioned after Revelation chapter 3. The church is no longer mentioned because we're not here. I don't think the 144,000 sealed Jews that proclaim the gospel to the entire world would be necessary if we were still here. If all the great pastors, there's some great pastors in this world, if they were all here, and then you and I were all here, we'd take it. We'd take the gospel to the corners of the world. Why would he need the 144,000? It's a time of Jacob's trouble. It's all about the Jews, and we're not going to be here. So look, we have to quickly share the gospel before I sign off here, because it's the most important thing in any video I do. To know that Jesus came to this earth to rescue us, to pay for our sin. Because we were all born with a sin nature. We are all born sinners. And we need our sin problem taken care of. And Jesus, who is eternal backwards, left a throne in heaven to be born in that manger or feeding trough. And he lived a perfect, sinless life. Perfect. And his whole reason for coming here, his reason to come here wasn't to spread love, although he did spread some love. His reason for coming here wasn't to feed 5,000, although he did. His reason for coming here was to die for our sins, to make the payment. We are all debtors. We owe a debt because we're sinners. And Jesus said, I'm going to go pay that debt for them. So he left a throne in heaven, came down here, was born, lived a perfect, sinless life, no sins. And he died on that cross. And he shed blood that washes us as white as snow, gets rid of our sin. And he was buried in the tomb. He rose again on the third day, and he's coming back. And that's the gospel. There's nothing you can add to it, nothing you can take away from it. It's so simple. You just admit you're a sinner. You ask for forgiveness of your sins, and you believe in everything I just said. You believe in his finished work. You believe that Jesus did it all. And when you believe that in your heart, and you think, like, I'm forgiven because Jesus lived a perfect life for me, and he died for me, and he was resurrected. He's sitting in heaven. He's coming back soon. Like, when you believe that in your heart, you're saved. Don't let anyone tell you you're not. People will try to add works to it. Don't let them. Don't let them. Your works, our works are like filthy rags. We're saved by grace, which is an unearned gift, through faith or belief in what Jesus did, in his finished work. End of story. His atoning blood. How beautiful it is. That's what I got for you today. I love you guys.